What's going on, you guys? It's Ariel here. Welcome back to the Gamer's Respite, and we are here with one of my friends, Jake Steinberg, who is a writer. He works in film and television. He is in the gaming space. You have so much going on right now that I'm not sure exactly how you keep track of it all. Welcome to the podcast. I hope you're doing well. How are you?
Thank you for having me on. I am excited to take a little respite. We're recording this on a Friday. The
Yes.
weekend is within my grasp. I can almost taste it. Yeah, no, this is a great way to settle in.
It is, honestly. Like, I'm ready to finally have some coffee soon. I'm ready to get my
Mm-mm-mm.
brain acclimated to the weekend and not think about work for a couple of days.
Ooh, sounds good. Yes.
Yes, I'm ready for this. So, we have been seeing so much happening in the world. I genuinely want to ask, how have you and everyone been? Because it is absolutely chaotic right now, genuinely.
Oh yeah, I mean bad. I mean the answer is bad.
Yeah.
I think that yeah, I think that like having to witness the horrors every single day obviously takes a toll on anybody with any sense of morality or standard of living or just like love for other human beings. And there's a degree to which like if you know the daily horrors are not weighing you down or affecting you in some way, then I almost wonder what's wrong with you. So yeah, it's definitely tough, and I think that there are a lot of conversations happening all at once, and of course everybody always wants to contribute. We're always online, we're always talking to each other, and I definitely wonder sometimes how valuable or helpful a lot of these conversations are. But at the end of the day, I'm always thinking I feel like everybody's just trying to deal in their own way. So yeah, just trying to be generous, try to approach everything in good faith, and that's kind of helping me get through each day individually, I think.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that everyone seems to be yelling at one another online about everything
Sure.
that's going on. But like you said, people are trying to do some coping in their own way, and I feel like that's justified because a lot of people, let's face it, a lot of kids actually are
Mhm.
experiencing their first world crisis for the first time,
Mm.
and it's really interesting to see how they're handling because like I don't know about you, but I'm about to be 33 next month, and we've
Cool.
seen Katrina, we've seen the
Mm.
trade towers, we've seen so many different things occur in our lifetime that's just like, oh yeah, no, we're used to this. This is a common occurrence, but for them it's like, what's happening right now?
Yeah, definitely, and I think there's a degree to which even for we're about similar age. Even for us, it's a little bit different, just because the pain is live streamed around the world in a way that it has never really been before. And even if um, even if it's always been bad, it's easier, it's more visible now. It's easier to be kind of like enmeshed in how terrible it is constantly than it was before. Especially just in while having a genocide being live streamed is really the first time in my life that I think something of this magnitude has been so kind of
Yeah.
inescapable on a day-to-day basis. There's not a day that goes by where something does not hit me and bring me down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, same. And it's one of those weird conundrums of where it's like, we can't do anything about anything. And we're just like kind of sitting ducks, witnessing the entire miasma of all different world events unfold. And it's like, well, okay, I guess it's time to do normal things, I guess. Like,
It's
yeah.
tough because I think so many people want to have a resistance mindset, and I think a resistance mindset is rooted in defiance, and you want to be somebody online that's saying like, don't give in, don't make it easy, be a source of good. And but like you said, I think a lot of people do believe that there is nothing we can do, and I consider myself an activist, and I think that there's always something we can do, and no matter what realm of the world that you work in, whatever you participate in, whether it be socially or professionally, having a higher standard for the people around you, having social consequences for people who are maybe not grasping the reality of a situation. When it comes to Palestine and the BDS movement, taking that seriously, like there's always something, and I think it's often easy to kind of if Superman were flying around saving people on the planet, I think it might be tough for a lot of us to do anything that would ever help or save anybody else, because it's like, well, I'm not going to be as helpful as Superman. And I think we kind of all do that in a little way sometimes, where it's like, well, I don't have a lot of institutional power. I don't have a lot of this. I don't have a lot of that. But the truth is that all of us do wield power. And even if it just comes down to personal and social power, power amongst your family members who listen to you, it is important to find that power, whatever it may be, and to use it for what you really believe in. Because if you hold the world around you to a higher standard, you will create a better world to live in.
Absolutely. And geez, this conversation is starting off so fantastic for a Friday. I fucking love it. It's going to be great because it's one of those moments of where, like, you're surrounding yourself with the right kind of people when you share the
Sure.
same mindsets on things, which I think is absolutely amazing. It's one of those things, too, of where, like, I also have to add to that where yes, I think it's really great to be an activist and show that mindset that, hey, nothing gets past you and you're seeing, well, we want to be treated one way. Let's try to enact that same kindness around the world in the ways that we can. But also the thing is that I said this on Twitter, not Twitter, what was it? Blue Sky. I keep confusing the two sometimes. I said this on Blue Sky at one point from a post that Leanna Rupert shared, and they were discussing of where, like, you can't, like, to paraphrase them poorly, it's time to really kind of like bring the fight out if you're expecting these kind of like, BSing posts from me, or really not going to get that because that's not the mindset that they're in. And I completely understand that. But however, we need to keep our mental health intact. And I would strongly urge a lot of people to be kind to themselves because it's so easy to get lost in the miasma of not only being an activist, but being someone who is constantly there seeing everything happening on social media all at once.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think part of being somebody who is rooted in positive change is creating a ritual and creating a practice that is empowering for the people around you and for yourself. Now, obviously, part of a protest, part of anything that you're doing for political action should involve a level of sacrifice and disruption. Because if it were easy, then we would all simply participate in it, whatever. But like something I build into my practice is like on my Twitch streams, something we have done is I will live on my stream, call my senator and talk about whatever's going on and say, hey, this is how you do this. Like right now, there's a movement going on where people are urging you to call your senator and push them in this way or that way. And like, does that help me grow my Twitch channel? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But is there a degree to which my audience member who sticks around for that, do I think that now I am maybe helping them become a more well-rounded person, and then will that make them a better viewer of my content? I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives them more of the idea that, like, if it's also a younger person watching, I feel like that's also beneficial as well, because it gives them the encouragement to be able to put those own practices into their own life as well.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, but we are here not only to talk about the things that are happening in life, get to know one another as podcasters. We are here to talk about games, and this is actually, for the first time, going to be a podcast that is not only on my other channel for just Ariel Denon, but it is going to be on Huggable Hipster, so you guys can watch the entire Souls conversation that we are going to have. Culturally, I think it's really fascinating because Souls games have become this big boom of either people really enjoy them and people just get along with them, like myself, because I primarily do Souls and Souls-like content on my main channel.
Right.
Or people just don't like them. They think it's way too difficult, which is a fair thing. I mean, sometimes they can be rooted in just pure evil a lot of the time. And we have to find kind of that balance of where's the conversation going? Are people doing this because they want to stir up the pot a little bit, or are they doing this because they actually genuinely think this stuff? Now, there's one branch of the conversation, however, of where people are discussing the accessibility of Souls games, which is a fantastic conversation to have on that, of where I've even spoken with Fighting Hellboy about this as well, of where there is accessibility, and then there are people using disabled folks as a means to have the conversation, which is gross. So there's a lot to dive into with this conversation. Before we do any of that, I want to know, what are you playing right now?
It's Souls-likes or just in general?
In general, because
Okay,
I saw your Silk Song conversation, and I was like, I need to know what he's playing.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm playing a lot of Borderlands 4. I was up really late last night with my friend, my podcast co-host. We were playing Borderlands 4 into the wee, the small hours last night. And I'm enjoying that game quite a bit. And my wife and I are really into, we sit down together and we play the Tiny Bookshop.
Oh.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, I have seen it. It's so cute.
Okay, it's adorable. You have this little bookshop. You stock your shelves. People come in. They ask you. They're like, "Oh, this is the kind of book I like. Do you have any recommendations for me?" And all of the books in the game are, in fact, real books. So, her and I both have advanced degrees in fiction and obviously like love reading. So it's fun to just like come across all of these books that we like know, and some we like and some we don't like, and it be like successfully integrated as a gameplay mechanic in this game. So a really fun game to play together because I don't know, just having somebody come in and be like, "This is the kind of book I want," and I'm like, "Sarah, do you think they'd like this?" And it's like, "No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what they'd like." So it's really fun to play together on the couch.
Wait, now I have to know what kind of books do you guys read? Are you more horror fanatics? Are you guys like crime? Like, what do you?
Hard? No, okay. Definitely no, definitely softer than that. So she loves a lot of the classics. She's always rereading Jane Austen books, and which I love. In undergrad, my senior thesis was on Jane Austen, so we have that in common. But right now I'm reading this book called The Loved Ones. And it's or maybe it's just loved one. Yeah, loved one. And it's like it's funny. I think I like books that take something that's like sentimental and meaningful and personal, and then maybe just like heighten it through whatever the storytelling structure is. And this book is about this woman who, this guy that she was friends with, kind of dated, kind of didn't. He is a musician and he dies really young. And the book just starts with her at his funeral. And it doesn't really lend itself to like a plot. You're like, in the first scene, you're like, well, what are we going to do for the rest of this book? If she's just kind of like untangling her feelings. And I think that where it goes and kind of how they lead you along, and a lot of the wisdom that this author kind of injects into this narrative has just been really fun to read. So I don't know. Listen, it's not a book podcast, but I love reading. I'm always reading something. So yeah, always down to.
It doesn't matter what the subject is. I know a lot of people like to say like, "Oh yeah, no, it's just gaming. You have to talk about gaming." Like, no, I want to talk about like so many different topics. I remember talking about like film and television with one of my friends, Cam Hawkins, if you know who that is.
I know Cam.
Yeah, no, he and I got like on a big like rant and tangent about like Hollywood and movie production and everything like that. So no, this is like a kind of a free for all podcast. Like, yes, the main thing is gaming, but.
I'm almost curious to hear what the kind of consensus was, because a lot of my work is in film and TV. I used to live in LA and I still do a lot of work out of Hollywood. So I'm editing a TV show right now that I think is really good. So I hope it goes. A lot of the times they don't go anywhere, but I hope that this one does, because I'm like, it's honestly not often that I work on something and I'm like, oh, I actually think they should do this one, actually. So,
right? No, you're just like, this one time, please.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating too, because it's like, for me, I am a hardcore fan of like good horror movies, like not the body horror, not any of that stuff, like things that kind of like, when Paranormal Activity came out and when the Blair Witch Project came out, that was iconic film, and I feel like that made a branch of horror that was just unique on its own. And when I was a kid, I think I was like 17 years old when I saw the Blair Witch Project for the first time, and I thought it was real. Like, they did such a good job on it that my teenage brain was like, oh my god, this is real. Then I got a chance to meet the director in college, and he was like, yeah, no, that's what we want people to think. And we did like an entire website with found footage, with different like audio tapes and everything, and I'm like, this is incredible. And there's just so much that lends it to that. But my main niche that I go for in books and television is psychological horror in particular.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Man. That's why. See, I'm a little soft. I need like sweetness. I'm not trying to I like to read before bed and stuff. I'm trying to chill out. I'm not trying to get heightened.
You see, I read
Yeah.
what was it, fantasy before I go to bed, like Iron
Okay.
Flame, the Akatar series I'm about to start, so that's going to be really interesting. I love with my every core and fiber of my being tokens books, like JR.
Oh wait, wait,
What
wait.
was
Is
it?
the Akatar series like a Court of Thorns and Roses? Okay, okay. I'm glad you brought this up. All right, I'm glad because these books are also horny. That's a big appeal of
I've
these books.
heard that, and I'm. It's gonna be weird reading them in public if that's the case. It's gonna be 50 Shades
No,
of Fairies, okay?
oh yeah, yeah. No, they're horny. It's like this you've got like a wolf man, and you're like, ooh, I wish that wolf man would take a bite out of me. So I'm can you there's a okay, so my wife who doesn't typically read kind of like I don't love this term, but the term that people use is like chicklet. That's like kind of what people call those. I don't love that term. I did not
Weird.
invent that. I'm just trying to get my point across, but
Yeah.
I think her tolerance for that kind of book is low. Do you feel like you can read a book like that where it's just like, oh, okay, pages and pages of objectifying this wolf man?
You know what's weird about me, Jake, is that
You're a list.
I'm all for this.
Yes.
I am
Okay, that's
I
great.
am I yeah, I am you see, I am admitting a part of myself now to the people.
Oh, we got you're exposed. Okay.
Exposed. I am presence. I am willing to offer this part of myself up to people. I
That's
am all
great.
for
That's great.
I am all for the romantasy books. Like that
Okay.
is my part of my niche of what I really love to read, but also enemies to lovers, everything.
Oh, fantastic.
Everything.
Okay. Okay.
When it's done right. So yeah, I just distributed a part of myself to the open air internet. You guys are welcome. I can't
That's
know.
good.
There is a thing that I always stuck to when I was younger. I would always read vampire literature when I was younger, and that continued on into college because that's what I ended up writing my psychological thesis on was the history of vampires,
Okay.
and that's mainly what I gravitate towards. There's one. Oh, I'll have to double check myself and correct myself if I'm wrong here. Jay Kristoff, I believe it is, who wrote Empire of the Vampire series. And
Okay.
absolutely incredible books. Would highly recommend them. He's an incredible writer. It's like if Stephen King and Anne Rice had a baby, that's him.
Whoa. There was a vampire book I read kind of recently, by Mike Chen, who writes a lot of kind of like young adult books. He's been writing a lot of like Star Wars and Marvel novelizations, which is really cool. Um, but it's like a YA kind of like funny, kind of like sweet and goofy vampire story. And I remember being like uh the first scene of the book is him like in high school and like in like the vampire kid is like in band practice and he like really needs to sneeze. But I guess if he sneezes, he like knows that something with blood is gonna happen or something. I don't know. But I remember it like really made an impression on me. So that's Vampire Weekend by Mike Chen. If
Oh my
anybody's trying
god.
to pick up a new vampire book, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting the way people do vampires. The I think the most hilarious case for me is Stephanie Meyer's Twilight series because it's like
Sure.
having sparkly vampires is one thing, but having a sparkly vampire that stalks Bella, that was weird. Like in part of the book where he's like, I took your car and I parked it at your house and your keys are on your pillow. I'm not sure if they were on your pillow.
Ariel, I will
like-
always defend the Twilight series. I will defend it until the
No.
day I die. I will defend it till the day I die.
Why?
I think that they're good. I think that they understand melodrama. I think that they understand the wants of a teenage girl, even if they're not, even if they're not good, even if they're not, entirely not toxic. I think they get it.
Toxic.
I think
like to watch you when you
if I was 16 and I had Edward Cullen doing all that shit for me, you're damn right I'd be in love with him. You're damn right.
because you don't know what you want when you're 16.
That's right. That's right. And that's and what Edward Cullen was doing, it would have worked on me tenfold.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, it did work on me when I was 16 and I read it, so fuck,
Exactly.
It's one of those
I was dying to see what he was gonna do next.
it's one of those weird moments, man, of where it's just like, you see the healthier option, which is Jacob, but it's not really healthy because he's very controlling in that sense. But then you see Edward Cullen, it's just like he's there, stonad, and it's like, You're not seeing anybody, Bella.
There's this line in Twilight in the first book where it's I like the night because without the dark we would never see the stars. And I'm just like, yeah, what a dumb line. Like I'm like, I can't believe somebody wrote that. And then but at the same time, there's a version of a teenager who like hears somebody say that and they're like, "Oh, deep, dude. Deep." Yeah.
With the beanie on and the guitar ready.
That's deep. That's deep. And I'm like, "Damn. It's like yeah, it's like self-aware. I think it knows." So, I like
It's like, bro, those stars, they're starring right now.
They're starring right now, yeah.
It's so fascinating to me because when I was a teenager, like my concept of what a good book was is so different than what it is now as a 30-something-year-old. Because when I was reading Twilight back in the day, back in those wee early days of the 2010s, it was so weird to see it turned into a movie. Because see, I think the best part of the movies though was the soundtrack, because that soundtrack was fire. Like anybody who says differently, you're just wrong. It was so good. Seeing like what was it, Iron and Wine in the track list? Please, come on.
Oh, I always think of Decode by Paramore.
Decode
That's the one
so
in there. Yeah. That's a
Supermassive Black Hole. That was everything. That was so good.
That was nice. That's Muse, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was kind of like a mixtape that your vampire boyfriend would bring to you, be like, you know why I brought this to you?
And I loved it. I was like, more please, Edward. More please.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh. This is good. No, actually, the entire title is of the podcast is gonna be, "Is Jake Steinberg a twihard?"
I think so. But I do want to say I am firmly Team Edward. I think Jacob is a freak. I think he's a freak. I don't like him at all. I think he's I think he's wilding. He's up to trickery. Okay, Edward's just being himself. Jacob's trying to play the game, and I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and I feel it was so weird. I don't know if you saw the movie in theaters where all the teenage girls were like, "Oh my god, he showed his abs." It's like,
you're right.
What is happening right now in our culture?
Wait, what's the name of that actor?
Taylor Lautner.
I've no quarrel with him. But I will say, I love Robert Pattinson.
He is a fantastic Robert Pattinson. Like that guy just clowns himself in interviews so much. He's just so good. Like him as Batman, I didn't think that was going to work. That ended up working so well.
I like that movie a lot.
Like, are you okay? I know you like Amber Cullen, but it's going to be okay.
I'm just getting so choked up thinking about Robert Pattinson.
It's going to be fine.
And I'm like, oh my god, he's making me emotional that I can't contain myself.
Do you know why I brought you here?
I love him. He's so good.
It was great because what was it? I think it was, there was one indie film that he did back in the day of when he was like first an actor. And for me, I love indie films. I love like very like small productions because that's where you can see like the real fan base pop out and everything. And there was one film that he did about being like becoming like the father to like a pregnant teenager and everything when he's just a teenager himself. And I feel like that was so interesting to see him do that kind of thing because he showed a little bit more of his music finesse within the film. And I didn't know that he was a singer until I saw Twilight. I was like, oh my god, this guy can actually sing. So the fact that he doesn't incorporate a lot of his like musicianship into a lot of his movies, I feel like is just a shame because he's so talented in that way.
Oh man, gotta get him in a musical.
Honestly, on Broadway, I think he would do really well as like with a melodramatic, like dramatic character role. Like he would do really well with something like that.
I'll watch him in anything.
Yeah, honestly, and you took the Twihard fanship a little bit too much. No, I'm just joking.
I'll take it. If there's a comment that's like, wow, this guy likes Robert Pattinson way too much, I'll be like, yeah, let him know.
Yeah, just no, you're owning it, and that's fine. You know what? We accept that here. But one thing I find really interesting while we're on the topic of movies is, what do you think, in your opinion, is the most well-produced movie?
Oh my god, what a question. So, like, I don't think, like, I don't really see art this way. Not to give, like, a cop-out answer, but, like, I have stuff that I love, obviously, but I think the most well-produced movie is something that, at the end of the day, everybody involved in it was paid fairly and loved. Like, and I will never know. I will never know that. I will not be able to tell what the most well-produced movie is by watching it, right? So, and it's this thing I tell people a lot when I work on stuff where people love to see a movie and then will like criticize its writing. And I always ask people, I'm like, what do you when you say that, what are you talking about? Because you didn't read it. So I'm like, what do you think the writing is? You know, how does that appear? Because there's a lot of stuff that is not, and I think what people mean when they say that is typically the dialogue. And there's a lot of writing that does not appear in dialogue. There's a lot of like structure that is invisible to the viewer in a way. Um, so there's certain things that I don't get too close to like being like, oh, I have a 100% clear picture of this. But obviously there are movies that I love. There's a classic Say Anything. It's this the one with, if you remember the kind of like iconic image of the guy with the boombox over his head, that's that movie. Yeah, it's one of these movies that I think I had a theater director once that said to me, great art holds up to multiple viewings. And I think about that a lot with like video games too, how some people are like, oh, it doesn't hit, once you know all the spoilers, it like doesn't hit the same. And I'm like, oh, that's a problem actually. Like if yeah, yeah, if it doesn't, it should be able to hold up to you viewing it again and again and again, just like the classics. Just like earlier when I mentioned my wife like rereading Jane Austen books, the amount of times that she will turn to me and be like, you know what I'm noticing this time? You know what I'm picking up this time? You know what I'm looking into? And I think that that's like a sign of like a really salient piece of art. Um, but I think that the movie Say Anything is almost, I think it's timeless, and to a degree I think like for 10 15 years now I've been saying Say Anything is ahead of its time, and now I'm realizing that I think it's just timeless. Some of the stuff that they do with like class and family and like power dynamics in that movie in like a really covert way, I actually think is like really delicate and sensitive and smart. So yeah, I like that movie a lot. That's just like one of my favorites. I don't know. There's a lot of movies that I love. There's like a lesser known, but this movie Comet by Sam Esmail. Nobody knows this movie. Nobody has seen this movie. It's like a two-person movie with Justin Long and Emmy Rossum. I always point. It's a super talky movie, which I like. Um, but every scene is just these two actors, pretty much having like a conversation, and it's told out of order. And I think it's like a really good example of a story told out of order. Um, Whereas like Tears of the Kingdom, I would say, is like a bad example of a story told out of order.
Oh, thank
Uh,
God. I just
yeah,
say thank God.
yeah.
Thank God you think
So
that too.
yeah, I don't know. So there's like tons of movies I love. Lately, I've been telling people it's kind of like a newer movie, and I think it's like a weirder pick. But there's a movie musical with Andrew Garfield called Tick Tick Boom.
I
Um,
love I'm sorry. I just got really
yeah,
excited when you said that. I love Tick Tick Boom so much. It's
I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I've
it's
been
one of
that
his
one's just
best
been on my
works.
mind.
It's
Yeah,
one of
it's really
yeah.
interesting, and it was and this is kind of surprising, if not a little cringe, but it was actually directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and
Wait,
I'm like,
really?
yeah, and I'm like, man, maybe I think
Huh.
he's a good director. So
The things
it's
that I
just weird.
appreciate though
I don't,
about Tick
yeah.
Tick Boom was just the pacing though. The pacing
Mm,
was so well done because when you're creating something, especially when it's kind of like an autobiography
yeah.
based on someone's life, you kind of want to get things well done and done to a way of where how would this person act in this situation? How would this person do like just a mundane everyday task in their shoes? And I feel like Andrew Garfield, not only I didn't know he could sing first of all, and
Mm.
I thought that he nailed the performance as him. Like it's heartbreaking the life that guy led was such a stress induced existence, but the way that Andrew Garfield encapsulated just the little bits of everyday moments I think was really good.
Yeah, I think so too. It's I think that the almost not the real person, but I think like the fictional character of Jonathan Larson in that show is so compelling, and I think they do such a good job of taking this character's kind of core wound of I want to be somebody and I'm running out of time. And the way in which that they every character in that movie kind of has a different perspective on that issue, and you see him kind of like work through that, and everybody is always talking about that, even when they're talking about like a million different things. They're talking about that tension and that anxiety of I need to accomplish this, and then I will be somebody, but I'm running out of time. And I find that really compelling.
Oh yeah, yeah. Another
Yeah.
film that I thought was really interesting and really gripping was Oppenheimer. Like that was to me, I feel like besides it being hyped up beyond existence, I got it on DVD on Blu-ray. That's how I know that I'm going to like a movie, and I managed to just get through an hour of it, and I was stopping every like half hour to see like okay, are they actually doing justice to this person? Are they actually doing it? And the way that they did that movie was just so intriguing. First of all, because I love documentary style movies. The way that they switched from not only black and white, but the aspect ratio, the way that they were
Sure.
switching back to every type of thing was so good. Another one was, and I'm forgetting the title of it right now, but it was a movie based on Stephen Hawking's life.
Oh, sure. There's been a few, so I wonder which one.
Gosh, it was.
Yeah, which
Oh,
one
I'm
that
trying to
would be.
remember.
There's one that's like a little bit
The
more
Theory of
romantic.
Everything.
Okay, yeah, that
Yep,
one, yeah.
that one. Yeah, it was
That's
very
cool.
well done. Yeah, and the guy
Yeah.
literally looked like Stephen Hawking. Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah. So that
Cool.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I know that we've talked to death now about film. You guys, you
Yeah.
want to talk about life, death. After no, I'm just joking.
Right.
But so to get into our
Mm.
conversations of things that because I know we were talking about things that we're playing and everything like that. Currently, there are games that I'm playing I can't talk about, but the one of the games that I am starting for the first time is BioShock, and I have never played the
Oh,
game
cool.
before. I started a little bit of it a couple months ago, and then I fell off of it because it was just too many games, too many games happening all at the same time, and I felt like I need to at least keep myself in the loop a little bit. So I'm playing that one. I'm playing my comfort game, Elden Ring, over again
Okay.
because I already platinumed it, and I'm just like, you know what? I need to do a guide on this. Looks like we're diving right back into the Moonlight Greatsword build. So
Yeah.
there's that, and I just finished again for a guide Dark Souls 1 Remastered, and playing
Okay.
that as a sorcerer is disgusting. Like
Ooh.
that was a weird one because I was a knight build first, and then I went in as a sorcerer. You can
Mm.
get Priscilla in the art world in 3 hits as a sorcery build. It's gross.
I'm gonna be honest. I
gross.
I only understand like
Yeah.
40% of this. So yeah, so I'm like with you, but I would have to cheat on the test if I'm being honest.
Listen, I'll give you my paper and just make it look like it was yours,
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Put your name on.
Right. Thank you.
But one thing that I'm really intrigued by, and I think that this will dive perfectly into the conversation, is the cultural phenomena and impact that Souls games have had, actually. Because, I mean, I know you see
Sure.
it all the time, like this debate of where, oh, is it a hard enough game? Is it, like, acceptable to have this? I know we're seeing the debate being brought up about Silksong. Is that a Souls-like? Is something of where are the developers making the game unnecessarily hard for the player? So I feel like when it comes to Souls games and Souls likes, where do you land on the spectrum of do you think there should be these difficult games that are absolutely punishing and people have to work their way through, or do you think developers need to meet the gamers where they're at?
Okay, so yeah, I first off, I think I consider difficulty and degree of punishing to be two different things. And I find that I wrote an essay about this called "What Gamers Call Hard," and I think that oftentimes what people consider to be difficult is when um, a game asks you to do something that most games don't ask you to do. So like if you're playing Marvel's Spider-Man, the content of that game is delivered to you like a parent delivering food to their infant baby. It is in the spoon, and it is going, here comes the airplane, here you go. Like they want you to have that content. And I think what we intuit as difficulty in like a Souls game is that it's like, okay, here's the content. Oh, you don't want the content? Okay, well now you have to go all the way to the back. And that degree of punishment, the fact that these games throw you back when you fail, they push the win, they create distance between you and the win. I think that that is often intuited as difficulty, but I don't think that they're difficult in the way that like a fighting game is difficult. And I, I think that when I think about difficulty, the thing that I'm always thinking about is how hard is it to learn? And I think, can I like, okay, the degree to which, like, when you go fight a boss and you kind of learn its patterns, and then you learn its patterns a little bit more, and then you learn its patterns a little bit more, and now you've kind of memorized its patterns, have you actually gotten better at something, or have you gotten more well acquainted with this boss? Like, does going through that process make you better at other stuff in the game? Or is it just this? Is it just that you've repeated this enough times that you can beat this, and now you're gonna go repeat that process with the next boss? Like,
Yeah, I would say it makes it better for the entire game as a whole because you're learning and acclimating yourself to how the game structure is. Because when I played Dark Souls 1 for the first time in 2021, that was my first time doing any Souls anything because a friend of mine was just like, no, you need to dive into this because I I criticized Elden Ring's trailer and saying that, oh yeah, no, it's just, it kind of looks like The Witcher, there's magic, there's stuff, it's, all this kind of stuff. And I played Dark Souls 1 and I realized you need to play it by its rules. You cannot play this like God of War Ragnarok. You cannot play this like any other game. You need to play it by its rules. And I feel like in that's where the struggle comes in for a lot of people because it's not like every other game.
yeah, there's a degree to which I think that's true. There's also a degree to which I push back a little bit because I think that in something I notice in games media is that there are certain games that, like, a video game reviewer would avoid because they're like, "Oh, I'm not this kind of gamer." And like fighting games are one of those games. Sports games are one of those games. And I think it's because there is a degree, or like a League of Legends, like a MOBA, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, stuff like that. And I think it's because there is a degree of difficulty around those games. And those games are not games that are punishing. And they're not designed to make you feel heroic after giving up, after like trying enough times. And I don't think they offer this narrative of like eventual triumph. So, and that's something that I think is really interesting about Souls games because it is building to that catharsis of kind of like beating the boss. Whereas if you learn an instrument, something I think we all agree is difficult, what is the catharsis of learning an instrument? But we would all agree that like learning an instrument is difficult. And I feel the same way about like a fighting game. And so there's something about this that obviously I'm not over here arguing that actually Souls games are easy, but I do want to say that there is a kind of mainstreaming of Souls games. And I think if anybody plays like any kind of real-time action video game, they can learn how to play a Souls game. They can definitely, you know what I mean? You know, but like all these people that work in games media, if you said you all have to go learn how to play Street Fighter, I think that's a bigger challenge.
Honestly, though, it's so interesting because like when I played Mortal Kombat for the first time, it was so much fun, and I loved getting to learn the move sets. And what was the killer for me by the end of it? It wasn't learning how to play it; it was the damn gore. Like holy
Oh,
shit,
sure. Yeah.
man! Like I saw one of my friends stream it, like back a couple of years ago, and he was, fighting, and I thought like, oh yeah, this is like a cool like action fighting game. It looks really interesting. And then I see someone rip someone's spine out, and I'm like, no, thank you, no, no,
Sure,
thank
sure,
you.
sure, sure.
It was just very intriguing to me that it's just like, oh, you're not listening to me. I got your back. It's okay.
I think that there's just something funny in a Souls game where I think one of the contrivances of the genre is that there are actually way more resources to help you beat the game than anybody wants to kind of like admit, because part of the cultural cachet, part of like the conversation surrounding Souls games, and I think this holds back conversation, is that I think people get like this weird kind of pride out of being like, they're really hard. I play them and they're really hard. And like, I don't know, Elden Ring has, and a lot of Souls games do, have like little notes that players leave you all around. They have like, you can do those summons. You can do, I think in a lot of ways, these games are designed to share builds and go online and be like, hey, try doing it this way, try doing it that way. There's almost in like a Pokemon way where the games want you to trade. I think that Souls games want you to talk. They want there to be this kind of like meta conversation surrounding the games. And I think all of that, and I kind of think all of that is giving this on-ramp to being successful in a way that a lot of truly hard games, I don't think give you that on-ramp.
No, they don't. And I know Sekiro Shadows Die Twice didn't do that. Like, you can't summon someone mid-game. And it was so interesting to me because I thought that was after, I think it was after I played Bloodborne, I played Sekiro. And I thought, oh, this is going to be somewhat similar. Oh, you sweet summer child. Know how wrong you are. And it's like, I just hear Ishin Sword Saints in my head saying, what was it? Defeat is something. Defeat is, oh God. Now I'm forgetting what he's saying. See, I'm slowly forgetting his words. But it's so weird to me because a lot of people are like, well, you know, Elden Ring is such a difficult game. And it's like, do you know how many summons you can have at once in a boss? Like, it makes the boss a little more challenging, but you can have, I think, upward like a few people at a time fighting this thing. Like the same in Bloodborne. If you wanted to, you could literally summon an entire army to defeat a boss. Like, I had 3 people at once in the first DLC boss to test out how difficult it was versus if you were just playing it on your own. And I think why people find it so challenging is because the bosses are incredibly punishing if you don't know what you're doing and you didn't study the movesets. And it's one thing I preach in my Soulsborne Academy. You guys gotta learn the movesets. You gotta die a few times in order to like take a scope of the area, see what kind of tells the boss has. See, like, nobody is, and I'm saying this with my whole chest, nobody is willing, a lot of people aren't willing, to put in the effort and actually understand how these bosses work in order to be successful at fighting them with or without a summon.
Definitely, and I do think that there is a degree to which I see this a lot in academic circles where I think people deploy obfuscation, making something less clear to kind of heighten their own sense of integrity or intelligence or reputation. And I almost feel like Souls games, something that's interesting about Souls games is kind of like how they deploy what people would recognize as their story. And it's this thing where oftentimes the most common refrain I see about the story of a Souls game on the internet is, well, if you actually did the work, you would see it was really deep. And I think just because there's a lot of information there, just because there's a lot of content that you would consider story content, does that necessarily mean that the story is good or deep or developed?
Subjectively,
and nobody,
no.
And that's and nobody's really interested in that, because I think what's interesting is signaling to others, I did the work of discovering the story. You have not. I have witnessed it, and I can tell you, person who is not as good as me, that it's good.
And I think that's what college when you're saying this.
I think that's what people are really interested in, and there is a degree to which sometimes I think that is kind of how the games are almost intentionally designed to give you this heightened sense of self-fulfillment and self-achievement, because I don't know, I see all these like builds posted online that's like, here's how you can cheese this boss really easily, and I'm like, damn. So the answer to this question in the game, how do I defeat this enemy, is we talk about how hard these things are, but really the answer is this really obscure, strange build where you can kind of take advantage of it on a meta video game level. And I just think that I just find that to be really, I don't know. It's I guess my approach to a lot of this is that I see constantly on social media how this like difficulty discourse shows up with Souls games over and over again. And I just don't believe in my heart that these are the most difficult video games that people can play. I have a next door neighbor I have a next door neighbor who doesn't play any video games, and he bought a PS5 to play Elden Ring.
Oh, that's so cool.
And
That's awesome.
he platinumed it. He played it through
Yeah.
several times. I'm like, there's a degree to which I just want to look at the camera and be like, guys, I'm sorry. These are casual video games. Like, they have broken containment. Normal people are playing them. Nobody is more normal than my neighbor. Like,
It's a really interesting conversation, and
Yeah.
it's one that I'm really glad that we're having, because it's for me personally, like, how I approach it, and I know people, like, obviously we're all going to have different opinions, and that's one thing I will
Yeah.
look at the camera and say, guys, we have different opinions, we have different mindsets. If one person thinks differently, it's okay. It's not a bad thing, you know?
Yeah,
And where I
definitely.
come from is of the thing of where, like, yes, there is a really deep-rooted psychological story within Elden Ring, a lot of the Dark Souls games and everything, because even if you look at the ending of Dark Souls 1 Remastered, you have a way to light the fire, and then you can bring in the Age of Dark, which is the Age of
Right.
Man. And there's so much religion imbued in that, but there's also kind of this as above, so below type ideology that's happening as well. So we see so many different ideas and different concepts. Like, even in certain builds, you see like the notes that are written, and it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
explaining like the story and how like this character was usually utilizing this weapon for this day and age. So is there a difficulty level for people who have never experienced it? Subjectively, yes. In their mind, absolutely. But when we see it as a bigger picture and as a huge whole, these games are difficult. They just take time to be able to get used to.
And I do think on the subject of story, it's funny, like, they're making an Elden Ring movie, right?
Yeah,
And
which I'm scared about. I don't know how that's going to pan out.
I'm curious. I feel like I feel like they have a lot of cool. So this is kind of making my point. I think, like, when I talk about what makes like a strong story or an ineffective story, I think a lot of people do point to this. Let me give you an example. Pokemon X and Y. I don't think anybody would say that Pokemon X and Y has a particularly strong narrative. But if I were to come back and say, but the villain, Lysander, in this game taking place in a region inspired by France, is trying to kind of commit a genocide, and they do things in this game to make Lysander kind of like a comparable figure in this universe to like Hitler. Does that suddenly make Pokemon X and Y, because there's this like deep referential thing in there, does that suddenly make the story of Pokemon X and Y good? Obviously the answer is no. But because like a Souls-like game is kind of dressed up in this very mature, it's like, oh, we're referencing religion, we're referencing this, it's like, so that means it's deep and good? No! Like, structure is just as important and just as critical to storytelling as the actual content. And something that I think is beautiful about like Pokemon Red and Blue is that you get your Pokemon, you set out into the world, and the first town you go into, you go up to the gym, and the door is locked. And that's so weird. This whole game about getting your Pokemon, going from town to town, beating all the gyms, the first door you get to, they're like, oh, he's not here. Why would they do that? And then you go throughout the entire region, you do a full circle, and then you end up right back where you started. And the door is no longer unlocked. It's no longer locked. Now it's unlocked. It's accessible to you. And the reason for that is that they are dramatizing the adventure that you went on. The world did not change. You did. You have gone through the transformation machine. Now you are strong enough to face this challenge. And that is storytelling. That is writing. And that's in the structure. So I think like, you could, stories are not Wikipedia pages where you just kind of synthesize all of the content and put it in your brain. So I'm curious when this Elden Ring movie comes out, if people are going to be like, oh yeah, the story is good because the story is good in Elden Ring, or will they recognize that it's something completely different is happening?
It's going to be so fascinating to see, how I'm going to predict that a lot of people, even Elden Ring fans, like hardcore Elden Ring fans, are going to flip the script, and it's going to be very hypocritical on their part. Because when you see a story folds out like Elden Ring and the way that you have different parts, I will be so surprised if they even make a dent into the story. Because for me personally, when I went through the story and when I went through the entirety of the game, there's so much there. There's so much to parse through. There's so much there to be able to sort through and say, well, we want this for a movie because it's actiony and it's good and Hollywood needs to make money. But we also need to be able to see, well, what's going to actually bring Elden Ring fans and the Souls community in general the most happiness? What kind of fan service do we want to do? So there's different lanes that they could take with all of it. I feel if they even make the characters remotely like what they are in the game, that'll be at least somewhat of a win, because as we know with the Resident Evil movies, Hollywood does not like to do things accordingly to the story.
You know, I'm maybe I'm just more optimistic. I actually think that
I'm a bit of a
I think
pessimist
that
though.
I think it's gonna be all right. I think it's gonna be all right. I think people get really hung up on the like, oh, it's going to be mainstreamed now, and that's gonna mean that it's bad. And sometimes I think like we get a little too snooty about our video games. And I don't think, yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes people look at their video games like they're these like perfectly crafted pieces of art, and by like making a movie out of them, you're like, oh, we're sacrificing something to make it commercial. And I'm like, I hate to break this to you,
They don't
but
think it's
Elden,
commercial.
it's pretty freaking commercial, dog. And so there's, I don't know. I think I have like this vision for it where essentially the movie would be about like, in this, you've got this a land of ruin in front of you. What is someone willing to sacrifice to claim grace? And I think you know, you have that existential question, and it kind of implies that power is meaningless without like a purpose, and you will kind of like see how the pursuit of power affects different people. And um I think that there's like a lot you can do with that, and you can kind of like adapt what I think is like the heart of this story to you know, this debate of why fight, why kill other people, why claim this ring. um yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that you could do with it, and I think it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's, I
You don't,
know
you
that
don't
we
think it's
like
gonna
to,
be a train wreck?
no, we do this thing with stuff where Elden Ring, because it's so obfuscated in its kind of narrative movements, we make it seem more complex than it is. And I don't think it's that complex. I think I could do it. It's just like there's like a clear direction I think one could go in. Yeah.
And I think the thing is that people think it's complex in the way that the bosses are, but it's not.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be. But the story itself, I have had multiple people either comment
Yeah.
or DM me saying, "I don't get the story. Are you doing videos on breaking down the story of Elden Ring?" And it's so fascinating to me because it's like you have the fingers, you have grace, you have all of these working parts that are going in tandem with each other. And I feel like since let's be real for a second, a lot of stories in modern games, this is not an insult to game companies by far. I love the work that game companies do, but they're very spoon fed. Like you were talking about with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They want the player to have this accessible to them. They want it to be able to be readily available to consume. I feel like since the story and all of the pieces and parts aren't as accessible, they take like a few playthroughs in order to get, like with certain Silent Hill games, Silent Hill 2, you need to do a couple of playthroughs of that in order to get the entire story. A Broken Wish, I'm not sure what the I forget what the DLC is called in Silent Hill 2. From a Wish, that was it. You need to play through her story as well to be able to get a lot of the story of what you're seeing from her perspective when she meets James. So I feel like there's so many different games that this could be said about, not just Souls games, of where you need to look kind of further than what the story is giving you in order to be able to grasp the entire thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that a lot of the times what that is confusing what the story of the game is with a lot of like the context of the game. So so this is a dumb example, but for example, if I were to ask somebody what is the story of Super Mario Odyssey, they would probably tell me something about Peach getting kidnapped by Bowser and having to defeat the Brutals and rescue her. And I think somebody that describes the story of that game, what they are doing, the accident that they are participating in, is that they are trying to fit the language of one medium, video games, and into the language of books, TV, and movies. They're trying to say, I know what a story is from books, TV, and movies, so I'm going to fit this in here. And when they do that, they are ignoring every single part of the game that is not a cutscene. They are ignoring every single thing that does not have a dialogue box, because if you tell me about the story of Super Mario Odyssey and you don't use the words exploration and discovery, we just are not on the same page. Like, we are, I just think that the story in Super Mario Odyssey is more clearly articulated when you talk about something pulling your curiosity, going to investigate it, and discovering that there is this reward. You were rewarded for your curiosity. I think that's what the story is more about in that game than Peach getting kidnapped by Bowser.
It's like, kind of a disservice to say that,
Yeah.
Because there's so much more to a game than just what the baseline ending is for what you get. It's kind of like saying, oh, The Last of Us is just about a zombie apocalypse. What? No. No. And that also lends to the example of, how you were talking about, it doesn't matter the spoilers that are given. The game or the movie should still hold up. That was The Last of Us. Like, people spoiled the part with Joel for me in a live stream that I was doing when I used to be on Twitch. And I was like, this is terrible. But then when I played the game through, it still held that same emotional impact. It was still there. It was still raw. It was still something of where, like, wow, this is incredible. And I'm never going to forget the scene ever.
There's a book I use a lot when I teach writing classes. It's by Vivian Gornick. It's called The Situation and the Story. And it talks about how, like, every narrative is comprised of two things. There's a situation, which is like all of the stuff that's happening. And then there's the story, which is like what it's actually about. And I think, like, too often we just like get all of these disparate details about the situation, and I'm like, that's great, I don't think the story's like about this. It's not. It's exactly what you said, where it's like, is The Last of Us about zombies? Like, no, that's just what they chose. That's, they could have replaced zombies with 100 other things and told the same story. So is Super Mario Odyssey about Bowser? Like, give me a break, yeah.
I just find it so funny because, like, and I think the best way to comprise Souls and Souls-likes is that while you do have a core story there, it's more situational. You have more situational pieces that then fans comprise their own story from. And that's where you have the fandom lore. That's where you get all of the speculation on different characters. So it's more of a situational based game of where Miyazaki was like, okay, we're going to put all of this stuff in here. It is your job to parse through it. It is your job to be like, well, let's create our own fucking story. We're going to give you our own base story that we think is, well, not that I think, scratch that, is what we know the meaning of it. We know our own interpretation of it. But I feel like it's such a philosophical, psychological, from my perspective, journey that the player needs to go on, that it's up to them to parse through their own experience. That's why builds are so unique. That's why so much of the game is up to the community.
That's part of the story.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. It's like thinking critically about the what the game is doing to you while you play it is so important. And if you're not doing that, then you're just trying to, like, you might as well be talking about a movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like that's why where I will be at least a little bit optimistic about it. That's where I feel like the movie could work with Elden Ring, because it's so comprised of an individualistic experience that we don't know if these directors or these people, the producers, have played Elden Ring. So we don't know what kind of contributions they're going to bring to the table as far as, well, I had this build, so we should put a little bit of this into the movie and see how it works, So I feel like that could actually work really, really well.
Yeah. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it really is. So one of the final topics I wanted to get into is discussing, and this could go either way, discussing what if you had an ideal game that you would comprise from your experience of playing games, what would be your ideal game to create in the current market that we have right now?
Wow. Okay, I can be selfish with this game. I can just make the game I want?
Yes. And I'll share with you mine, but I'm really interested to see yours.
Okay, all right. This is pure selfishness. This is just the game that Jakey Boy wants.
Yes, absolutely.
How familiar are you with the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon franchise?
I am vaguely familiar, but not too familiar.
Okay, so the idea of this game is that it's kind of like a roguelike where you play as a Pokemon and you go through these randomly generated dungeons, these mystery dungeons, and you bring in kind of like Resident Evil style. You bring in like items and resources, but you only have a set amount of spots, but you also want to have enough spots to pick stuff up in the dungeons that you find. So it's like this little resource balancing act. And your moves have like a set amount of time times that you can use them. So it's like all of this kind of like delicate balancing as you're making your way through these little battles in these dungeons. And typically something I like about it is that these dungeons are like grid based. So in a typical Pokemon game, it's like you're just staring at each other using attacks, and that's fine. But in a dungeon, like if a Pokemon's like 5 spaces away from me, I can actually use a long distance attack if I have one to like hit him from across the dungeon. And it's like, oh, that's cool. It's like we added a sense of space to this battle system that's typically not in the games. So that concept, I would like to take that concept, and I would like to turn it into a 3D action game. So what I am imagining is you have kind of like in the spirit of an Elden Ring kind of thing, where you are, or like maybe a more pre-Elden Ring Souls-like game, actually. You're like going through these dungeons. You pick one of, instead of like a class that you pick at the beginning of the game, you decide, all right, I'm going to be Pikachu, I'm going to be Charmander, I'm going to be whatever. Those are your classes. And you're making your way through these dungeons, and there's like a big boss battle at the end. And I just want a game that lets me do this in perpetuity. And like over time, they release like new little guys. And it's like, oh, now you can play as this class, this Pokemon, this whatever. And the idea of being able to play this co-op, and I have my friend, I'm playing Charmander, they're playing Squirtle, and we're going through these dungeons together, and like trying to get good loot, trying to like see if we can get to the end, take down a boss. Because like something they do in the mystery dungeon games is that like there's this end game activity where it's like, okay, you've leveled up to level 60, and now you're really strong, you've got all this stuff, but we're gonna put you in a 99 floor dungeon. But on floor 1, you start at level 1, and you have like no moves. So you have to level up as you're going through this dungeon and make your way all the way to the top, while learning moves, deciding what your build is going to be, kind of in like a roguelite way. So I think ultimately what I want is this action roguelite dungeon crawling Pokemon game where over time they keep adding like new dungeons and new bosses and new characters to play as. I think it would be so fun. I've wanted this my whole life. I've been talking about this since I was 8 years old. Give it to me.
I need that. That is a Pokemon game I feel like I would actually play, because a little bit of a side note, I have beef with Game Freak, okay? I honestly think that they should just stop for a second and reevaluate.
Are you bored? Do you think they're boring? Do you think they're boring?
I do.
Yeah, that's fair. Listen, I can't I get it. I completely get it. Ariel, to be honest with you, sometimes, even for me, they're a little boring. But I don't know if you know this. Legends ZA, I don't know how up to date you are, but Legends ZA.
I played Scarlet, and I absolutely enjoy Scarlet. It's one of my comfort games. It's my cozy game. I love Scarlet. Right. It's so good. But right now, I just recently, this year, got back into collecting cards and for Pokemon, and after, 20 years of not collecting. Yeah. And what I'm noticing now is a lot of people are saying the same thing, that Game Freak just needs to stop, reevaluate what they're doing with the games. Not with the cards. The cards are doing fantastic. They're full arts. Chef's kiss. They're wonderful. Right. But when it comes to the games, it's just like, put the brakes on. Just a tiny bit. I would love to be able to see like red, blue, green on the Switch. Just a thought.
Yeah, I have friends who are dying for that. But I will tell you, Legends ZA, first mainline Pokemon game that it's not turn-based, it's action combat, and I know. And and you're like running around the battlefield and like issuing the commands in real time. And you can like your enemy can call an attack out at you, and you can like dodge it. So I like, here's the thing, my dream Pokemon game, a year ago, it was a dream. It was, Jake, this is never going to happen. You're never going to get it. And ever since they revealed that Legends ZA is action combat, I've been like, okay, wait a second. There's a chance. There's a chance now. Yeah.
You too. Great. Now I'm actually going to get this game.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch a trailer because I thought, oh, it's going to be the same thing all over again. But now it's like,
They've
what's
kind of done
happening?
a bad job of advertising it, to be completely honest
Yes.
with you. You are not the first person that I have said this to, and they've been like, wait, they changed the combat? I'm like, yeah, they changed the combat. So it's, you know, yeah.
I feel like my eyes about to twitch.
You know, it's crazy. And listen. It comes out at the beginning of next month, about a month from today. And if it comes out and it's dookie, I apologize. I apologize to everyone. But right now I'm a believer. I'm a hard believer in this.
Listen, I might actually need to get myself that as my early birthday present.
I'm just saying, listen, if the reviews come out for this in 3 weeks and it's getting rave reviews, remember who told you. Remember who told you first.
That's true.
Okay?
That's true.
Yeah.
Wait, is it only for the Switch 2 or is it for the regular Switch as well? Because I don't have a Switch 2 yet.
Yeah, so it's for the Switch, and then there's a Switch 2 $10 upgrade that's like 60 frames per second or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. They actually boosted it up to 60 frames. What's happening right now? What world are we living in?
I gotta tell you, Ariel, the Switch 2 version of this game looks pretty nice.
Really? Okay, because right now I'm not used to Pokemon actually making things different. I'm used to things being like 14 frames per second.
And I will say Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is one of the ugliest video games I have ever played. And I like it a lot. I like it a lot, but I think that game has like 3 pillars, and one of the core pillars of Scarlet and Violet is that it is ugly as sin.
It is.
Yes. It is. It just is. So listen, confidence, you're catching me on a good day. Confidence could not be higher in Legends ZA. I'm betting the house, putting all my marbles on this. I think it's going to be big.
I think it's either going to be really, really. I mean, the fact that there's combat in their open world combat, that's a huge thing. The fact that it's actually running at a decent frame rate, that's also big, because we know that they kind of like to skimp on that. The concept and the story is a really big thing for me going into any game. So I'm really going to be interested to see if it's like RCS, if they're going to do it kind of like that, or if they're going to be taking a whole new, like, oh, they're going to be Resident Evil with this approach, Like, I don't even know what kind of story they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, and it looks cool to me just because it's the first Pokemon game ever. It's set entirely within one city. So they've got this scope now where they're like, we're focusing on this one thing. They've advertised like the characters a lot. There are like a bunch of these like unique, interesting looking characters. I don't know. I confidence is high. I reserve the right to change my vibe, but right now I'm feeling great about it right now.
On a side note though, could you imagine Resident Evil but make it Pokemon?
Did you see the reveal for Mega Victory Bell?
I have, and it's
okay.
I don't know how I feel about it. But
they did this like CG, obviously inspired by Resident Evil trailer for people that might not know. And it's funny, it's like they've got these people, they're like walking through this like abandoned house. They've got the little flashlight. It's all like dark and scary. And I don't know, it's just the fact that they're even capable of producing that, and it's something that they think about, and they're like, oh, we can use that, is I don't know, it's interesting to me. So I think we had a dip with Pokemon as a franchise where it was I think the worst is behind us, genuinely.
I do too, and I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago, with everything that was going on, but I would think so now, because when I played Scarlet for the first time and I played it on stream, that thing ran like a ticking time bomb on my Switch.
Yeah, and I will say, I will give them credit. The Switch 2 free patch for Scarlet and Violet makes a huge difference.
Really? That good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's okay. Like the frames don't. It's like 60 frames per second.
Oh, that's good, because it was Stutter City. When
I know. I can't believe they did it. I genuinely think that they were in their flop era, and I think we're emerging from the flop era.
They had a glow
up. I agree. Everything's gonna look good, and they got that dumb Pokemon Farm game coming out. I think that looks good too.
I know.
So,
but what I want to see though, and Game Freak, you might want to make this happen before all of us millennials just pass away at some point.
Okay.
You might want to make a PC version of like an open world cozy sim for Pokemon. That would be incredible.
Oh, you're dreaming.
Like that.
I appreciate this. I'm glad you got your head in the clouds, but no.
It's one of those things of where, like, I've been telling people forever, if they just put out a PC version of one of the games that we know, like, it doesn't even have to be like a full stretched screen or anything like that. I will take the smallest ratio possible, like Sweet Home from the 80s. I will take it. But you know what? Put your games on PC, that way people don't have to illegally mod them.
There it is.
You know? But I feel like to go to what my ideal game would be, if I were to create anything, it would be obviously psychologically driven. It would be a lot of horror in it.
Okay.
And it would be so mechanics, Returnal. Base mechanics would be for that.
Wow, wow, we're both doing roguelikes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
One of my favorite games is Returnal. The bosses there are incredible.
Love Returnal. Yep.
When I think of a really strong horror game, I think of lots of notes, going old school, but also something where the environment keeps changing. So I want it to be a cozy sim, wait for it, but in the Returnal style. I can see the look on your face already. Yeah. But the Returnal style, what was it? Combat, and in kind of the same aesthetic almost that PT Silent Hills was in. You have a little hub that you can decorate, that you can make your own, but every time you leave that hub, everything changes. As you progress in the story, your hub also changes too. So you start to notice things around your hub that are like, oh, that plant that I put there, that's starting to decay a little bit. And every time you water it, it just decays with every time you wake up for the next run. So like you have different things that are going on within the world. And by the time you finally get to the story, you're restarting and you wake up and you're like, huh, I wonder what day it is. So you completely forget what just happened. But you're going through and you're fighting all of these different monsters and everything, and then you might see visions of like a loved one, or you might hear like a tape recording here somewhere. But then on like the second run that you do, like let's say you're restarting the game. I've thought about this a lot, okay? When you're restarting the game for like the New Game Plus or something, you have a little ghost buddy that's there as like a cozy thing to have on like your PC. So like it doesn't just extend to the game. You can put it on your PC as like a cozy icon to like remind you of like as a timer or something like that. That's just embedded within the game.
Okay, when you know in Returnal, it's like you're playing and then you'll pick up like a new gun and it kind of changes your gameplay. What is the equivalent in your game? What do you pick up when you're running around doing the action stuff?
A spiked plant sword.
Okay.
So excellent. It's like a Venus flytrap at the very top of it, and then you have spikes all alongside of it with like a wooden handle.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I see it clearly.
Yeah.
Very little shop of horrors, if you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. Suddenly see more.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. Yeah. Good.
It's fantastic, and you know what? It's so interesting because it's like I have so many different ideas for games and stuff. And I actually a little bit of lore about myself. I started at a game company a few years ago. Cool. And we were going to do, like, our first title was going to be The Pieces of I, which would be a psychological horror game, side-scroller, that was basically about this one character called I. And you would go up to them and you would say, oh, can I have a little bit of, like, hope? Or can I have a little bit of happiness? And every so often you would see your character's color depleting. You're giving too much of yourself away. It's more of a message about like you have to save something for yourself. You can't always give too much of who you are away to other people because that leaves no room for you as a person. And we were going to create a game like that, but life got busy, things got crazy. I got a freelance position at Windows Central at the time. So it was one of those things of where it was like, I can't possibly do this. But if somebody wants to use that idea as a game, feel free to use it.
Right. There you go. Yeah, I like it. And I like how you described what the story was about using a gameplay mechanic. Yeah. Can I ask you, since we both said we wanted to make like these games with rogue elements, are you hyped for and going to be playing Hades 2 next week?
Yes, I'm so excited.
Oh, okay. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm dying. I'm dying, dude. I'm dying.
I got to play I got it when it was in early release, and I reviewed it in early release. The way that they did the story this time around, and the way that they're incorporating so many different new mechanics, I am so excited about it.
Okay, that's awesome.
So good. Oh my god! And I recently got the Steam Deck, so that's supposed to run beautifully on that.
Oh, see, I'm all about that Switch too. I'm gonna be out of town next week, and I've got like a 6-hour train ride coming home, and it's like the day it comes out, and I'm literally just gonna sit there and play Hades 2 the whole time. I can't wait. It's gonna be an amazing day.
Yeah, no, it is, and that's the thing too of where like you're playing as a badass character. Like, not that Hades wasn't a badass character. I love playing as a female that I can associate with, you know? But the thing is that, like, I absolutely loved the voice actor for Hades, what the first game, because he sounded so sarcastic in so much of what he was doing. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, the voice, and I didn't realize until later that that's the same voice actor that plays, oh my god, the skelly guy, the skeleton that's, your
Oh yeah, that guy.
doll.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, the guy that's Hades is the same as the skeleton guy?
Yeah, the same voice actor. You didn't know that?
No, that's cool. Good for that guy. Good for that guy. That rips.
Yeah.
No, that game's incredible. I
So
really
good.
liked Zagreus, and I kind of like knew his story going into it, and I actually don't know. I don't even know who this woman is. I don't even know. So I'm like excited to learn.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, this
Yeah.
is supposed to be, from what I've heard from like just the base stories, that this is Zagreus' sister.
They have like a similar
So,
eye thing, so
yeah.
I think that okay, all right, so that
Yeah,
makes
so
sense to me.
they can go, you know, as a, like I was saying, as beloved, so below. So, you know, they can actually like go to Earth, and they can like go back down to hell and everything, which I think is really interesting. But the different mechanics that the bosses are using now, oh my god, if people call this Souls-like, I'm going to flip a shit with somebody, because this is not a, this is a roguelike. This is
Oh
not
yeah,
a
it's just
Souls-like.
no.
That's where I
That
have to say though, is that like, just because the game is difficult doesn't mean it's a Souls.
Oh, of course. No. And yeah, and I don't know, I think like what I'm almost most interested from Souls games going forward is I feel like there was this era of like Breath of the Wild, and then we were in like the Zelda post Breath of the Wild era for like a long time. And I think that's influenced a lot of like Nintendo and a lot of other games. I'm almost like, all right, I'm what is the post like Elden Ring Souls? Because okay, they announced that one for Switch 2 that we don't know that much about, and I'm like really curious about that because it appears to be like a multiplayer focused whatever that's called, Blood something. Yeah.
Wait,
So
are you talking about oh my gosh, the new one that's coming out only for the Switch?
yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, so I know which one you're talking about. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. That shows how I'm like a fake Souls creator right now. No, it's interesting because it's
Dusk
like
Bloods.
Dusk Bloods. Yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
Bloodborne
Yeah.
thing that's coming out. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about it yet, because
Yeah.
anything, I am a From Software whore, okay? Anything that they are
Okay,
going
yeah,
to
yeah.
do, I am going to put out.
Slurp
I'm
it
going
up,
to like
yeah.
just lap it up, okay?
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
weird to me, because it's like so many people are like, "Oh, is it going to be like Bloodborne?" I'm thinking, why can't they just cook? Why can't they just create something that is completely independent of the universe? Like Armored Core 6, so many people were saying, "Oh, this is a Souls-like." No, let's not do this. Let's not make everything that From
Interesting.
Software comes out with a Souls-like. Because I feel like so many people, and this is going to be a hot take, I'm so sorry, you guys,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
so many people want a Bloodborne 2, and it's not necessary. Like, I don't feel like there needs to be a Bloodborne 2. Bloodborne 1 already had so much within it that was good, that made it its own universe, that I don't think there needs to be a second game at all. I feel like that would actually disrupt the flow of what the first game has.
Mm.
So if you
Yeah,
like, you have Gehrman, you have the Dream, you have the Hunter's Nightmare, you have all of these different aspects that I feel like it got capped off with the ending so beautifully that doing a second game, I feel like would just be a disservice to it. But that's my point. So
No, yeah, and maybe like a second game is less. I think when people imagine a Bloodborne 2, they're imagining something that's like kind of conservative. They're like, "Oh, I just want what I liked about Bloodborne 1." But maybe a true sequel to Bloodborne looks a lot different from what you're imagining. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what they do with this Dusk Bloods game, just because Miyazaki did say it's like he imagines it as a co-op multiplayer game, which I think is weird. It's like, especially for the one video game platform that is also a freaking handheld. So I'm wondering how they're gonna. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the cool
So
thing,
I'm curious to see that. Yeah.
the thing of where like he started out was in wanting to make these things co-op and multiplayer. There was a story that a friend of mmine, shout out to Quayleg on YouTube, she's awesome. She told me a story. She did a podcast with me, and she was talking about the one story. I'm going to probably butcher this because I'm not going to remember all the things, so I'm going to paraphrase as best I can. He got into a car accident at one point, Miyazaki, and the idea from Bloodborne, the idea for basically Demon Souls, what started everything, came from that car accident, because he said there were people who were trying to help him get out of there. He was like kind of in a weird spot in a way, and they were all trying to push his car and help him get out of there, and he wanted to turn back with his car and say thank you to whoever was doing it, but he realized that he might never get to see those people again. He's probably never going to get to interact with them again, but they're good Samaritans who helped him out, and that's where the entire idea for the co-op for Demon Souls came from, was people helping another person simply because, oh, I see your summon sign there, I'm gonna help you out. You might be a first timer, you might be a vet, who knows, but I'm helping someone out. You might never see me again. And that's actually a good note that I want to leave the podcast on, because there's a story of where, when I played Bloodborne for the first time, I went into the DLC and I fought against Orphan of Cause, and it was one of the most difficult bosses I have ever fought. And I went in to try to get into multiplayer, and this one person who's now a friend of mine, and we, talk sometimes on, on PlayStation, I summoned him, and he kept coming back to help me with the boss battle. And he was there, and his summon sign was just always there. And I said to him at one point, I messaged him on PlayStation, I was like, you know what? I feel like I can take this boss on my own. Do you mind not being able to be there to co-op? And he was like, yeah, no worry about it. Let me know how it goes. I know you got this. And he was standing back far enough, so if I needed help, I could have it, but he wasn't intruding, because
that's very cool. That's
I
very
thought that was really awesome. And then I finally beat it. I beat it on my own, and I messaged him, and I was just like, I got the boss, I got Orphan of Cause, and he was like, let's go. And it was like a party up in the chat. It was so amazing. And I think that that's the beauty, I think, of Souls and Souls-likes, is the community, not the gatekeeping community, not anything of that nature. It's more or less the community that they see you. It's not struggling, but they see you there. They want to help. They want to be a good Samaritan, and they see you in that car accident, and they feel like, oh, we can lend that helping hand to you.
Yeah, that's
that's
awesome.
where,
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's where really cool friendships are created. But Jake, thank you so much for joining me on the Gamer's Respite. I really appreciate it. It has been wonderful to chat with you about all things.
Thank you for having me. I didn't get too mean. Sometimes I come on pods and I'm so mean, so I think this was a good one. We kept it good. I didn't have to tell you that the Souls games are too something or another. I'm surprised that I feel like you and I are secretly aligned in our gaming tastes, even if we play completely separate games.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that's the thing too, of where, like, I love being able to see people's perspectives on Souls games, because a lot of the time I'll get people saying like, oh, they're too difficult, they need to tone down the difficulty, or we'll get wholesome conversations like this of where it's like, no, there are different things that are wrong with it, but not what you think they are.
Well, and I love talking about this with, you're so in the weeds. Like, you know what the people in the community are saying, and I have no idea. So it's kind of fun to hear both sides of that.
I have the intel on the things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's awesome.
But you guys, if y'all like our faces and what we do, please be sure to subscribe, hit that bell down below, and be sure to check out some of our other content. I will have Jake's links down in the description below, so you can check out his stuff. And with that being said, be sure to something. I forgot my outro.
Like and subscribe!
Coffee treat you well and life give you a nat 20. I'll see you guys in the next one. It worked this time. I have faith in myself.
Excellent.
Bye, you guys.